And we're live, and Jen just wants to run into things right before we start.
Hello!
Hello!
La, la, la. Hello, all. Welcome. It is Monday Night Generational Change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter, and remember, now we're in a situation where
we're in a
can't
situation.
really separate ourselves from,
you see, seriously, now it's...
campaign life. What's the matter? Do you want people to contribute to the campaign?
I do want people to contribute to the campaign. I just don't love having a QR code over my face.
Get over it. Okay, so right over here, actually, I did it right for the first time. Make sure you click on that QR code. Anytime you want to contribute to Gen 2024. I
just feel like it's a brand on me. It's like I'm branded.
Yeah, it's all going through my brain right now, and I can't stay on.
We're here.
Yeah, we're here. We're not queer.
Well, no, we're not.
But we appreciate them.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. No, come back. It's fine. There's no problem. Like and share the stream if you can. Double K. We love you. We know it'll be the last.
It's been an interesting, busy Easter weekend.
Yeah, it certainly has been. And I know you have a very strong opinion about. We might as well get it out of the way. It goes without saying that there are going to be people that are going to come for Jen on a regular basis, especially if she's viable. That didn't take too long. We finally had one that decided that they were going to make it their business to try to antagonize Jen to the upteenth degree. It won't be the last time.
What happened?
What
are you talking about?
Talking about what happened with the message.
Oh, with the women's club?
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to talk about that?
You said that like about not even 10 minutes before we.
Okay, so it's a long story.
Like a kente cloth tale.
It is a kente cloth tale of sorts. No, so this is the story. So we have a group. There's a group called the Democratic Women's Club of Florida. And the Democratic Women's Club of Florida is something that I have been affiliated with. It is not through the state party, right? It's separate than the state party. It's its whole own thing. And it's run differently. And the people that have run it have traditionally been, a lot more neutral than our state party, especially when I ran in 20. And so I participated in the club and I made a few friends in the club. And I even acted as a secretary for one of them because they asked me to do that because a few people had left. And so I did, whatever, it was fine. And so yesterday, I get a text that was an invitation to, and I haven't really done anything with them because they've sort of been defunct for a while. The president that was there wasn't there, whatever. So it's been sort of like laying low for a while. I get a text that invites me to the meeting for the West, the Broward women, the Democratic Women's Club of Florida, and it's the Broward chapter.
Blends together.
Whatever. So I thought it was an auto text, and I've been getting them all the time. So I just wrote stop. That's it. I just wrote stop. I thought it was an auto text.
Now, if you saw the text, you would immediately think that it wasn't.
Yeah, it was just a flyer and a date with an event, like to be at an event. So it looked like an auto text. So I just wrote stop. What ensued from there is like a comedy of errors, not for me. So the person who apparently was sending this out is one of the petty.
Drop it in the chat.
One of the catty petty people that are in the Broward scene that are prime examples of why politics cannot get anywhere in this world. It's certainly not down here. So this guy sends me a rant. Because I'll read it. It's very entertaining.
The text is here, but Colin decided to put it here, and I think it's going to block the screen. I don't want to do that. I want to drop it in the chat. Drop it in the bar
because it's very entertaining.
If you could do that,
it's entertaining.
No,
okay.
It is.
So I'll read it. Okay, so. This is what it was. I got the text. I wrote stop. And then I got a response, which quite honestly, he shouldn't have responded anyway, because even if it wasn't me, then if somebody wants to stop, you don't stop. But he wanted to antagonize regardless of who it was.
This is the message. So this is the first text that came through.
But it looked like a flyer.
Yeah. So if you see something like this, if you just see the text, you would think that this is an auto text. It looks very much like an auto text.
I made that clear. It does. So I'm going to read to you what ensued. So I wrote stop. This is what now ensues. Nice. Let me look you up on the spreadsheet. This is Aaron Darr, Mayor Trantellis's partner. Mayor Trantellis is the mayor of Fort Lauderdale. We'll get to that in a second. This is his partner. Now, I don't know exactly what he's referencing as partner, but I do believe it's personal partner. Okay. You were on a spreadsheet as a former member of this women's club chapter. I will remove you if you would like. Let me know. Now, he shouldn't have even responded to the stop, but he did. Then, without me responding, oh God, out of all the people to text, I apologize. I just looked up your number on the spreadsheet. You and I don't really care for each other, and I don't want your energy at their club meeting, as you are very toxic. So I will remove you from the list. I am region chair and will make sure that per your past behavior, which violates our bylaws, that you are not welcome in our meetings, Jen. Have a happy Easter. Can't wait to watch you lose to DWS again. Kissy face. So then, this is what when people want to know why Florida Democrats are pathetic, it's people like this. So this is the guy right here, all the way on the right, the gentleman all the way on the right in that picture, and you can see his portfolio picture there. He calls himself a political hopeful. So now the man next to him in the picture, that's Mayor Dean Trantelis, the mayor of Fort Lauderdale. So apparently this is his partner, and this is the guy, the political hopeful. This is how he handles being a regional chair for a women's Democratic club that I have a history with, and all I did was reply, stop. This continues. So I said, all I said was stop to what I thought was an auto text. But sure, I'm the toxic one. I've never been accused of anything regarding violation of bylaws. I simply stepped in as a secretary when, I'm not going to mention, asked me to do so. But yeah, you seem like someone with no concept of due process. So sure, just accuse people of nonsense about your silly club. Whatever your issues are, I recommend counseling, as you seem to be a bit riled up over someone who doesn't remember you. Maybe have a nice ride in your partner's ridiculous car while he tries to privatize city water. By the way, generally people who accuse people of things are merely projecting their own insecurities and crimes. Then he comes back. I can't even read that, and I don't care to. Yeah, like he didn't read it. Again, can't wait for that August primary. Honey, he calls me honey. Honey, I'm region chair and on the state board. You know with nothing about our bylaws. I am blocking you. Your toxic energy, as it always, is draining. Black king you baby. And this is what this guy puts out to someone who I met him once at a club. I don't even remember having a conversation. I just remember like saying hi, like nothing. He's never known me. He knows nothing about me. Now, in reference to his partner, Mayor Dean Trantelis, it was about, how long ago was that? Like a year ago or so?
Yeah, probably something like that.
Peter and I were at a protest outside of Fort Lauderdale City Hall with a bunch of the environmental people and the people that are fighting for clean water and, the green people. And they're protesting because Mayor Dean Trantelis was working on a plan to privatize the city's water.
Yeah, not cool.
Not a lot of people like that. Now, side note, Mayor Dean Trantelis drives a Bentley that is absurd. Okay. And he parks said Bentley at City Hall, which, by the way, is a block away from where unhoused people seek like services and shelter. And so there's like all these people lining the streets. But then there's his Bentley, the mayor of Fort Lauderdale. This guy's trying to privatize water. And now his partner is accusing me of being toxic. And this is someone who is affiliated with what is a decent organization. So I called up the president of the State Democratic Women's Club, and she and I had a really, really productive and interesting chat. I, of course, offered to help her and share my platform and help, do stuff that they need to do, as I have done for them in the past. And she agreed that said regional chair was only there temporarily because they had to put someone in there. And I was actually the second person to call and complain about said regional chair, who is now going to be the former regional chair of the Florida Democratic Women's Club, South Florida region. So the moral of the story, don't fuck with me. Just don't. Just don't fuck with me. I cannot stress this enough to people. I do not start with people, but I'll finish it. And there's probably a 90% chance that I'll take it too far. I'm an only child and a Taurus. It's going to happen. So that is what we deal with here in ridiculous Florida politics. I am happy to say that the current president of the State Women's Dem Club is an awesome woman who is really, she's only been there a year and is really working to turn things around and bring the club back, and is really in this for the right reasons. She, and case in point, doesn't live in South Florida. She's up somewhere in the armpit area. And so she didn't really know about the ridiculous, petty nonsense that we deal with down here in Broward. She'd heard about it from Dade, and she'd also heard some things from our mutual friend. But they're mean. The mean girls are mean, and they include boys. We're very inclusive here in Broward. So the mean girls can now include boys.
Well, the good news is that I think overall people are not having it with those types anymore. I think that they're very aware. And listen, anybody who is going to stand on ceremony with somebody like Debbie Wasserman Schultz at this point, and not just say that, but say it in a way as if to suggest that, you know, what Debbie's doing is right and what Jen's doing is wrong. No, everyone should be publicly humiliated, because Debbie Wasserman Schultz, probably more than any other congressional representative as of this moment, is cheering on at this moment
She's back now. She's back now.
Yeah, but she managed to get back today, and her first stop was to slide into a Democratic club meeting in Miramar
with no announcement ahead of time until today that she was going to be there, done on purpose, because, by the way, the Muslim community would have shown up in big numbers. And I've told them it is no surprise that is why she did this. But so, Aaron Dar, why don't you seek a job with Debbie Wasserman?
Yeah, you probably could get hired.
Or why don't you work for your partner Dean in his river of sludge to nowhere underground?
Enough. So without further ado, we are going to bring on a guest who I happen to have come across on Instagram, because what can you possibly do in trying times than to make comedy?
And I cannot make this funny.
I know it's not easy, but for somebody who is Palestinian, she happens to do a really great job of it. So we're going to show you a small clip right now.
Manager, he was actually this like really hardcore Israeli guy. He served in the army, the whole thing, and he would call me Miss Yacoub, which is the Hebrew version of my last name, Yacoub. So I'm pretty sure that he thinks that I'm Jewish or Israeli, and it's kind of awkward because I don't want to come out and tell him that I'm actually Palestinian, because like, what if I come home one day and find him living in my apartment? Like, next thing you know, he'll tell me.
Comedian Atheer Yacoub, welcome to Generational Change.
Shalom.
Shalom. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. But now I've been like trying to practice saying Assalamu alaikum.
That's good. Yeah.
How was that?
I've
been working it. It's not easy. Yeah, some of the words and it's also the same for me, like with Spanish. I cannot do the double R. Like, there's just certain things that are hard, but I'm trying. Yeah, no, but I try. But yes, how are you?
I'm good. You know, considering it's like hard to answer that question, but my, as good as I can be. It's obviously it is hard to do. I mean, it's hard to do comedy anytime, especially now, but I almost feel like I can kind of muster up more of this like energy because it's more needed now, in a sense. Like, I feel more fiery now. I'm like, there's a reason to do it. There's even more reason because, it's always been that way. Like, comedians, as far as I feel like is the way I practice comedy, I guess I'm making it like seem like it's a call. It kind of is a calling. It's a calling. It's a cult. It's a religion. And it just feels like the reason we do it is to shed light on, socio-political issues and life issues. And, I think we have to be the ones who kind of like be the truth tellers and not in the way like that we're held back and inhibited, and because we're not we're kind of beholden to some people in some way, but meaning like Hollywood not getting booked, whatever, like all of that stuff. People might it could affect our careers, but I'm way past that. I don't care. But basically it's not like, oh, I work for a university or a government and I can't say how I really feel. Like, it's my job to amplify these like voices and put out there and what I feel.
I think, and I've always said that about comedy, and it's always scary to me. And I've seen this historically throughout my life. The first people to start getting censored are comedians. And you see it all. I mean, look, this is historic. Like, this isn't just now. This has been going. Lenny Bruce. Well, yeah. Like, I mean, this is something that you see forever. And that to me is extremely scary, because comedians, even ones that aren't funny, quite honest, like it's just the entire nature of it is to be antagonistic in a way to the establishment. And if you can't have that, if you censor that, to me, it's like it's a very easy slope to where we are now. And it's scary. And I think it's even more so than censoring journalism to some extent. Like there's something about it that's particularly nefarious. But I was just curious, like talk about like where you are from, like what you're like, a little bit about your background and how you got into doing comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess let's see. I was I'm Palestinian. My parents immigrated to Alabama, so that's why, and I was born there. And then I moved to Palestine when I was a baby. So then moved back and forth, kind of lived there until high school in Palestine, and kind of came back and forth a lot until finished college in Alabama, then moved to New York. So it's basically why I became a comedian, just trying to make sense of that kind of weird upbringing, and coming to New York and people being like, wait, what? You're from Alabama? What? You grew up in Palestine? And like, I guess I didn't think it was that strange until I came to New York. Actually, no, it's not true. When I was in Palestine, I went to an American school, and even my classmates were like, making fun of me for being from Alabama, because their parents all went to like Chicago, New Jersey, New York, like all like major places, California, whatever. And they're like, what the hell are your parents doing? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I joke about it, but the truth is just how all like kind of chain migrate. One family moves there and then another, or somebody there and somebody else moves there. And I don't know. Had the misfortune and fortune, I guess, being from Alabama, because definitely provides a lot of material.
Oh, the combination to me of a Palestinian and Alabama, that's like a sitcom. That to me it sounds
one day
really
you
funny.
hear that Hollywood, you hear that Netflix.
Well, it's a good, seriously, like as somebody from South Florida and has driven through that area, that region, I don't recall seeing the Palestinian population. Like I don't recall the Southern Palestinian. It's just a really funny, like even the food combinations would be interesting if you combined like Southern food, and like the whole thing would be funny. But how did you get in? So is this how you got into comedy? You realized this is crazy. I live here.
Yeah, because I would have conversations when I moved to New York for grad school, and like I was always really into comedy. I started going to, you probably know, like Maysoon Zayed Beidallah from the Arab American Comedy Festival. They started this festival like 20 years ago. And I would go, and I didn't think there was a place for me or my voice or someone like me doing comedy. And at the time, there weren't that many people. Then I saw the festival. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Okay, so there are other people like me there. It was just kind of scary at first, the idea of going on stage, because I always loved watching comedians, and even when I was in Alabama, just listening to comedy. And then coming to New York, I used to visit when I was like 19, 20 in college, and then kind of dreaming of living here. And I would go to comedy clubs. And then when people started asking me about my background in New York and reacting the way you guys are reacting, I was like, oh, I guess it is kind of weird. Maybe I should. I started off as like, maybe I should write a funny book, and then whatever. And I'm like, no, honestly, what I really want to do is write jokes and TV shows about these experiences, and tell my story. And so it's just little by little started like going to open mic, and then did a little bit of improv and sketch, and just kind of having like one foot in. And then finally I had to kind of admit to myself, like, this is what I want to do with my life, which is a really scary moment of like, oh God, because sometimes once you recognize that this is something that you want to do, now you have a responsibility to it. And that's scary, because it's like, shit, I gotta do this. What am I doing in my life?
It's a leap of faith. It's a leap of faith. And, to do something like that, first of all, it's the only way to be to me. Like, otherwise, what do? You're spending your life you can't, like, that's no way to be either. But I also know that world is notoriously harder for women. Like, there is some, like, I've heard stories. Now, I mean, you're younger than like some of like how it's been maybe in the past, but how is that now? I mean, I have heard some really like assaulty, aggressive, assertive things that go on in the comedy community towards women that are in that genre?
Yeah, honestly, it's like the hierarchy for me is it's harder for me as a Palestinian than as a Muslim and then as a woman. So
Okay.
for me, those, and especially now, so it is very difficult, but it's the compounding like factors of how hard, you know, because being a woman in comedy, I have many other women that can relate, and being even Muslim, and it's like being Palestinian gets even smaller and smaller. So you feel like even more isolated, and there's not as many people that understand what you're going through. There are not as many allies in that scene. So at least like the women can kind of stick together, like we talk about things, but feeling even more isolated and more of a, you know, minority within a minority, it's like it's, you got to be even like kind of tougher and always be proactive and kind of hyper vigilant and thinking about that stuff. So that can be difficult now more than ever,
Yeah.
but definitely like in certain shows or certain, if I travel to, I mean, even in certain places, New York, or if I travel to the South or wherever and say that I'm Muslim or Palestinian or Middle Eastern, it's just like kind of holding my breath. Whereas like a woman, I'm visibly a woman, and they can, I'm not like, oh no, what's going to happen when I make this reveal? You know what I mean? Not that they're
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's layered for me on top of all of that.
Very intersectional. Like
Yeah.
this is the definition of an intersectional situation. So where have you been performing? Like, where do you mostly perform? What do you work on that? Like, what's your bread and butter stuff?
Yeah, I've been traveling a lot, just doing shows all over the country. I am gonna go to Middle East. I wanted to go to Palestine this summer, but difficult. So I'm gonna go to Turkey, Lebanon, probably Jordan, do some shows there. I haven't really done a whole lot in the Middle East. I performed in Dubai, but performing basically like on the road in different clubs and around the country, it gives you a kind of a better, also like more rounded perspective of like, what people think and how they feel about certain material, because you know New York can be this little bubble, but I do, you know, I do have shows here. I have a show coming up. My creative partner and I, her name's Isa Fatima, we created a show called Muslim Girls DTF, Discuss Their Faith, wink wink, and it's like just kind of showing the other, it's a sketch show that's also streaming on Fuse TV, so we're working on that and taking it on the road hopefully in the fall, and we're going to actually try to hit a lot of southern states, because she grew up in Mississippi, she's Pakistani, grew up in the Middle East, actually in Saudi Arabia, and then Mississippi, and then it's kind of how we like bonded over that. So we're going to try to take this show to kind of all over the nation and see how people respond. So it is really just putting that identity in the forefront of like Muslim women, and giving people a different idea of like obviously what you see on TV, because she's an actor and is tired of like always, you know, auditioning for, you know, terrorist girlfriend or something or whatever, or like the beaten Muslim wife, or you know, it's just, we're past that. We need better stories, better narratives, and we need to be the ones that control that and write that. And it's the same, you know, I think for any people that have been kind of stereotyped and didn't have a chance to kind of like speak for themselves.
I would love to see that here. If you like,
Yeah,
not that
April 17th, caveat, we're gonna be there. We're gonna do a show.
That? Where is that?
Sorry, not caveat. It's gonna be at Asylum this time. Sorry, Asylum used to be the old pit. It's like 23rd and 3rd. I want to say.
Where are you talking about?
Manhattan. Where are you based?
Okay.
I should know.
We're in Florida.
Oh my! I didn't know you were in Florida. Okay, so maybe we'll come to Florida.
You know what? And I was going to say, if you come to Florida, I would be very happy to like. I have been, since we announced that I was running, was right before Ramadan started, like literally like that week.
Wow.
And so I have been it's been amazing for me. I have been doing like this amount around the world iftar situation. Next year, I'm coming up with a rating scale. I'm going to do like moons, like crescent moons, and do like a rating scale. So I was also going to tell you, I have Turkish friends now. And like, it's amazing to me. I've made Indian friends, Pakistani friends, Turkish friends, obviously Palestinian friends, but like I already had some Palestinian friends, but like it's just been amazing.
Big community.
And these people cannot feed me enough. And this is why we're going to have the rating system next year. I'll be like a restaurant critic at the iftars.
Right.
It's been so much fun. So yeah, and so now I have Turkish friends. It made me think that when you said,
oh, so you're getting all the good food. You're getting
the Pakistanis. I cannot. That's spicy. Seriously.
Oh, the spice. Oh yeah.
That was the one thing. He liked it more than me. I'm like, and they're all sitting there eating that. I'm sweating and my head's not even covered. They're sitting there, they're not even nothing. I'm like, my mouth is on fire. And so then after that one, every one since then, I always ask who's hosting, and I'm like, was the food done by the Pakistanis?
Right. No, they definitely add more heat because Arabic food is not, and Turkish it's not as spicy, but and it's if you're not used to it, because even for me, like I like spicy food, but certain things will be like, whoa, this is like different level spicy. Yeah.
Serious. But no, it's been awesome.
So
I've loved it.
We're very close to the Improv in Dania Point, which is the new place. A lot of comedians come down there. One of the things I was thinking about is potentially trying to do organizing a comedy fundraiser for Jen's campaign.
Yeah.
That's all he thinks about is fundraising.
Well, that's not all I think
about,
I know. But it is an important part.
It's important. It is.
It is.
And I think if there's an opportunity to bring the message, especially your message, I think that's very important because you're really good, you're really sharp, and to me, people can. There's a lot of comedians and there's wannabe comedians. I think you're legit, and I think having somebody like you can have a very big impact, and especially
how many Muslims in Broward?
75,000.
75,000 Muslims in Broward County.
So
whoa,
yeah, it's a huge population down here. I knew that there was a decent size.
I did, but not like that. No, but now I do because I've met, and I have infiltrated the Muslim phone tree situation. I would refer to it as the Muslim WhatsApp situation. They're like down here. That's the thing. And then, and if this is stuff that honestly you could use in a bit, I cannot tell you. So the groups are not to be mixed. This one won't talk with this one. This one doesn't talk with that. It's like, and
the Real Housewives of
it's so hilarious. It's hilarious. And every single socioeconomic level, and I mean crazy rich Asian level, socioeconomic level, all the way down to like regular people, right? It's just fascinating. But yes, 75,000 Muslims.
Wow. I would not have thought that.
Yeah.
Well, definitely we should do. Yeah, I'm absolutely down to do a show. So what's the nearest major? Cause my brother actually,
Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood Airport.
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay, got it. My brother's in Orlando.
In fact, the airport to the comedy to the Improv is about 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's close.
Oh, amazing.
But I got to tell you, if you were in Orlando, I'd drive up and see you in Orlando. Like if you did something in Orlando, I would drive. Yeah, I would do that.
And if you're,
I'll keep you posted.
Please.
Yeah, if we can, definitely we'll shoot you a message. And that's the thing about, any type of conglomerate comedy, specials. Once you have one big commit, then there's others that will ultimately come on board. Like I don't know about David Cross. That's something that we would talk about. But
it's hard to get. It's hard to get his.
Yeah.
Do you know David Cross?
He's one of my comedy heroes. So I love his art.
He's been a guest.
I don't know him personally.
He's been a guest on this show. I had it. He was a donor to my campaign in 20.
Oh,
he had
wow.
a great bit that we just listened to the other day. He's like Schindler's List. Didn't find it very funny.
Not funny. It was really funny.
He's so dark, and like the fact that he grew up in the South, also I think in Atlanta or near Atlanta, and Jewish in Atlanta, Muslim in Alabama. I really related to his stuff. And his dark humor and how there's always something. I think he makes fun of everyone, every religion, every culture, whatever. So to me, it's hilarious because it's dark. It's like there's always some sort of like, just something you don't see coming. Like I love his stuff. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I bet you if we could get you, I bet you we could lure him to
probably lower a few guys.
Yeah, and we've also had Judah Friedlander on here too.
Oh, I've done shows with Judah. He's wonderful. He's wonderful.
And I would say I've always been, Kate's great.
Yeah,
Kate's
we've
great
had
activist.
we really because comedians and activists are kind of from the same type of people.
Yeah, if Atheer can, if we get Atheer, I'm sure Kate would work out something.
Yeah, that could be way fun.
I love toilet humor, and I have to say
that's not my thing.
That scene in Scary Movie 2 with David and Chris Elliott when he's telling him, "Take my hand," and I'm just.
She has not seen that. I can tell by her face.
Did. No, I did. I did.
Really?
I
don't know. I think I lost a little respect for you a little bit just now that you know what he's talking about.
No, I don't remember this scene. I'm laughing at that idea, but I definitely watched all of that. I don't remember that scene.
So Chris Elliott is a very underrated comedian, and
I'll give you that.
And he made him wear this prosthetic tiny hand, and he's like trying to. And David Cross, who's supposed to be in a wheelchair in the movie, and he's like hanging on. He's like, "Help! And Elliot comes over and he says, "Take my hand," and he's like, "No, give me your other hand."
Oh God.
Take it. It's that I love that stuff.
It's absurdity too. Yeah, that I love about it.
I love absurd comedy. I do.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yes, you do.
Hey, well, you don't.
I like dark. I'm just.
Well, I think David Cross is definitely dark and absurd. A lot of ways. And Mr. Show, and with Bob and David, and like I've watched all of his TV.
Arrested Development.
Arrested Development is one of my favorites.
Okay, please tell me that you remember the episode where he has the business card.
Yes, and all of this.
And all of this. And that to me, like my husband and I were roaring on that forever. That and the Blue Man Group when he went to go to the.
I just blew myself. Oh yeah, I still send gifts to my cousins of like we have constant running jokes and inside jokes about David stuff from Arrested Development. So
yeah. Okay, now I feel inspired.
My favorite.
If you so we have his phone number in our donor base because he donated, but no one ever answers their phone. It always goes to voicemail, and his voicemail. I'm like pretty immune to people fooling me that it's really them, but he's like, hi, like it's the most ridiculous thing. But it's funny.
So being a comedian in New York, especially right now, considering it is the epicenter of the Jewish population, it has to be. I'd be curious to hear what the experience has been like, especially over the last 6 months. Because now things are getting very, very serious. There is a mass famine that is going to kill countless people. This administration is doubling down on those efforts and telling you that you got to support us, even in spite of all this, because Trump and all that. I'm curious to what the experience has been like for you personally, being around that in the city for the past several months.
Yeah, it's been. And God, it's hard to say. I feel like people have just been coming out, kind of going to either extreme, right? Because we're seeing a lot of pro-Palestinian, anti-Zionist Jewish people be more active, be more vocal, and then we're seeing the right Zionist, pro-Israel people be more vocal. So now everything is so mainstream and in people's faces, and it's just. Because there's people like I know kind of like were Zionists but didn't really. And then after these, everyone's just like posting, I've been harassed by this one booker who's harassed many people, you stop booking people because either they're Palestinian or posted about Palestine. I know people whose like managers dropped them. I know people who've lost a lot of brand deals. It's weird. Even walking into a room now and on stage when I say that I'm Palestinian, I get this like, kind of moment where I'm like waiting for a reaction, and then I exhale, and if they're like, most people are like clapping and happy, but there's a lot of tourists in New York too. But you gotta, I'm just mindful of which like bookers or clubs are going to be biased towards me because of that, and what spaces I feel safe in, and which ones are allow for that kind of like racist Zionist kind of like rhetoric, because you're not going to let in like a white supremacist Nazi come in, but you're going to let somebody who's extremely Zionist and posting crazy shit on their Instagram do comedy.
Nazi at this point with the way they're
it's the same. Yeah, it's the same.
I mean, look, we actually went down to Miami to see Michael Rappaport, and this was several.
Yeah, speaking of the real terrorists.
This is like it was February of 23.
Yeah.
So it was over a year ago.
I mean, he had a couple of moments, but he's not that impressive in terms of a comedian.
No, and now he's insane.
And as far as I'm concerned, I just see it as sort of the dollar signs type situation. It's like Deborah Messing. It's like if you want to know if you want to know the one place in New York City you don't want to go if you want to avoid the Zionists, don't go to the Upper East Side. That's like the one place you just have to know.
Yeah, I used to live there. Thank God I live in Brooklyn now, but it's so different. Like I'm going to my local coffee shop, everyone's wearing keffiyeh. There's free Palestine everywhere. I was like, this is so crazy because I lived on the Upper East Side for a few years, and I'm just like, thank God I've been in Brooklyn during all of this, because there's just like free Palestine graffiti everywhere. It's just so different. But yes, obviously, even though there's like a huge mosque on the Upper East Side that I used to live by, so it's like it's a weird intersection of like lots of Muslims, Palestinians, but also a lot of Zionists, and obviously not to say all the Jewish people that live here are Zionists, but this is the epicenter of Zionism and or the U.S. in general.
I also find that a lot of this, at least from my experience in New York City, you can never tell because everybody really does live amongst each other, with a few exceptions, of course, places like Park Avenue and things like that. But for the most part, you can't really tell. So it's kind of like you could be around people of a lot of different, obviously ethno backgrounds, but also a lot of different economic backgrounds. But the one thing that I think we've noticed from afar, even though down here in South Florida is the second biggest Jewish population in the United States, is that this is very socioeconomic. The people that tend to be on the very higher end of the spectrum, AKA, places like the Upper East Side, places like Lexington Avenue and Park Avenue, is that this is a wealth issue. The very wealthy Jews. That's why, when Deborah Messing gave her speech, it was I know where she gave that speech. She gave that speech in a very, very wealthy area. And so when you do that, you're kind of just showing your hand in a lot of ways, which is the people who have the bread, who have been used to being very comfortable with this whole Jewish state because it's very advantageous from a business perspective, are the ones that are very loud and proud. But once you get away from that, it does seem like, and especially in a lot of Jewish communities, they're not having this. This is not their thing. And they understand the vitality of what's going on here, because now it's boomeranging itself in many ways, especially in regards to the rising anti-Semitism, which again, you can understand being attributed to what's going on over there.
Right, because that's kind of by design, right? Israel is conflating the two, right? Judaism and Zionism, so that obviously if you criticize Israel, then you're automatically criticizing Jewish people. But it's that very sentiment that is creating the anti-Semitism in the first place, because we as Palestinians don't want to conflate the two, because that undermines everybody's human rights.
Well, that is a perfect transition, because this is something that Jen has been harping on, because Jen is Jewish. And
I'm a harper.
And you are a harper.
I'm a harper.
But one thing we have noticed is that between AIPAC and the ADL, especially with Mr. Greenblatt, this has gone to a whole other level. Now, there's two rules of thumb here. We're going to play a quick clip and we'll comment.
You've got to be concerned, because these kids on these college campuses, guess where they're going? To your boardrooms. They're going to editorial boards. They're going to the assignment desk of news networks. People who say, death to the Zionists, I wish for that and worse. And if you wouldn't tolerate it, if someone is wearing a swastika on their arm, I'm sorry, you shouldn't tolerate it if they're wearing a keffiyeh.
He actually
That's what
said
I say to that.
Wave it and wave it.
No,
proud.
and the truth is that I've said it many times, like for me, and as far as what I'm trying to do in the lane that I'm in, this is sort of as incendiary as I can really be. I don't need to give people visual images to use of me in weight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not smart. But the idea that a keffiyeh or a Palestinian flag is somehow related to anything that is negative is completely just symptomatic of their bigotry, because there's no logic behind that whatsoever. That keffiyeh, I forget, I know it's got like the wheat symbol, and then there was something else on it. Like, it's the most
the water for the fish.
Water.
So basically,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, people used, everyone wore a scarf for keffiyeh, and the red and white one is Jordanian, and the black and white one traditionally was worn in Palestine. There's like
Right.
all white scarf in like the Emirates, but basically during the people used it during the resistance or for resistance, so they could cover their face when they're so they're not being targeted like they are now. So we wouldn't need it to be a symbol of resistance if there wasn't something to have to resist. So it's not like the swastika to actually. I'm so glad I didn't see that before, because I'm just like, these things kind of like make my blood boil. But I also know these are like idiots that have their own agenda.
Well, let's be honest. This is one of the bigger problems. We know that Greenblatt is paid by the ADL over $800,000 a year to do this. So that's a big part of it. And let's call a spade a spade. It's about the Benjamins, baby. The bigger problem is that MSNBC has a panel of 7 people on Morning Joe, and not one of them pushed back, not even a little bit. Didn't even say, well, that you comparing a kaffifa to the swastika. Is it keffiyeh? Excuse me.
You're trying to say kaffife. You're trying to make that up with the Trump thing.
No, it's totally a kaffife. That's what I said. It was really great. Really great job. No, we totally have to end this war. It's a terrible war. It's a waste of time, waste of money. Really bad
That's
idea.
a good Trump.
He does Trump.
That's
Bill
a really
Clinton.
eerie good Trump. Yeah.
He does Trump, Bill Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and now you also do RFK pretty well now.
Wait a minute. Did you say that you were married? Did I hear that right? Well, that never stopped me before. So,
that's true.
I'll just keep going.
I know. He has the masks. Like this is a thing.
But the fact that you put 7 people on a panel and not one of them.
No one said, yeah.
But I also think that speaks to the greater issue here, which is going to be the downfall of corporate media, especially MSNBC. They are the people who fund these shows are people who are on board with the genocide.
Right.
So if you have somebody who is good, if anybody says anything, even tepidly suggesting,
they're done.
They're like, okay, we'll find somebody else. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Listen, I am not a
pieces. They just want to, have everybody in their pocket.
Well, think about Mehdi Hassan. Mehdi Hassan is not even that great, and even he was basically just trying to point out the obvious, and they're like, goodbye.
Yeah. Well, now Israel's trying to ban or did ban, try to ban a law to pass a law to ban Al Jazeera. It's like, I'm just saying, like, how if facts are a threat to you, like, that is absolutely, like, look at what you are doing. Look at why is that? You got to ask yourself, what do you not want people to see? Also, again, what we're seeing on Instagram, on the news, really mostly Instagram from people's like personal accounts, that's what they do so blatantly and openly. So again, what are they doing when in hiding the things that we don't see? Because they are out here on TikTok and other social media soldiers, like making a complete mocking and human life. We should all be offended as human beings that anyone, like stealing bodies, like desecrating graves, how can you say on one hand, I belong to this belief system, and I'm not the first person to obviously point out this hypocrisy. It's like, this land belongs to me because of my religious belief, but at the same time, I don't believe, I'm not following anything, and I'm actually doing a disservice to the religion. But it's just another tool that they use, that they weaponize, obviously, to justify what they're doing. But I think people are not buying it anymore, and especially other Jewish people like you, Jennifer, are like, no, like this, as they say, not in my name, this is not okay. More Jewish people should. I think more and more people are up in arms, and hopefully as they're realizing, like, no, you can't use the pain that Jewish people have gone through, the Holocaust and everything, to do the same thing essentially to another people who also had nothing to do with it. Who actually welcomed refugees from World War II in Eastern Europe. And I feel like I'm in an episode of Black Mirror or The Twilight Zone every time I'm watching the news. I'm like, this can't be it. And I live there, and I lived there through the first, second Intifada. I've gotten bombed. It's one of my biggest traumatic memories. I'm in therapy now as the stuff is coming up to try to work through it. And I'm doing everything that I can. I'm like, let's do MDR. Let's do, ketamine therapy. Let's do everything that I could possibly do. And still, I'm like, this happened to me 20 years ago. and I didn't even see a fraction of what the kids in Gaza see. So and the adults, I mean, adults are human beings. It's like funny how we like prioritize the kids, but adults also, and women and men and everybody, nobody deserves to live like that. But I can't even imagine. I don't think there are enough therapists, resources in the world. I don't want to be pessimistic. Like if I'm doing everything I can, sitting in my comfortable apartment in Brooklyn, and doing therapy over Zoom, I'm still like struggling so hard with this and PTSD. I can't even imagine the level and generational trauma that they're also creating with this horrific time.
Yeah, and I've said it before, and I will keep saying it, that in however many years from now, when horrible terrorist things happen here or happen anywhere else, because these children grow up with hate in their hearts because of what is happening to them and their trauma, I don't condemn them. I'm saying that right now so that we know that ahead of time, so that when this comes up, this is one of those where I'm going to just put it out there so that I don't have to say, I really did say that. So now I'm saying that. I ahead of time do not condemn them, because this is exactly what we're perpetrating. And it's so obvious. It's so obvious. And yet there is no way that any of the people that are going through this are coming out on the other end anywhere remotely normal. There's and I've said it from me, I don't see how this ends without 2 million dead people in the desert. I don't see how this ends any other way. From the beginning, they're starving. They don't have medical care. They don't have hygiene. They don't have water. It doesn't take rocket science to figure that out. So I don't see how any of this ends without that. And certainly the psychological trauma, the fact that anybody thinks that we are going to get away from feeling the wrath of that in our lifetime, you're delusional. You're delusional. And it's just, to me, it's obvious.
And I think they want to use that. Sorry, I just say, I think it's just a way Israel helped fund prop Hamas, so that when this happens, they have a reason. Just the way Bush invaded Iraq, like they want the reason to have the rest of the world with them and be like, oh, okay, it's justified. I get it now. Let's, it's really about resources, land, wealth, like you're saying, like it's all about acquiring more. It's capitalism, it's colonialism, it's imperialism at its worst. I mean, this has happened since the beginning of time. So why are we acting like it's different? But we can't call it out when it comes to Israel, because that's the one thing. It's no, can't talk about it. Can't talk about it. And people are losing lives. Their livelihood, their jobs. It's insane to me that no other thing in history can you not call out the way you're calling out now.
Yeah.
Well, there's no question that I see two things happening here. We were at an iftar last night, and it was kind of impromptu, but we were sitting at a table with a gentleman who's lost 30 family members. And
this iftar was particularly, this was a Palestinian, it was a fundraiser.
Yeah. And this is, and the thing that I took away from this is that as much as they're grieving, they're not really grieving. And the reason I say that is because the genocide is still going on.
Right.
When the genocide is over, God willing, it'll be well before they're able to complete their final solution. Then there will be the real trauma that needs to be dealt with.
Right. They're all like this. That's basically what they're
bracing. You're bracing.
They're this.
They're frozen.
Right.
Yeah.
Constantly. And this couple, this man and his wife, that, they're like, we can't think about other things. We can't do, like, they're paralyzed. That's what like, it's horrifying.
And yet, for whatever reason.
And they're here.
And this is where, Atheer, if you have the stomach for this, because we have to cover it, and we really enjoy having you on the show. So, as you probably know, Jen is running for Congress against none other than the Queen Zionist herself, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And so she just spent a week, it didn't just go to Israel, but spent a week with the killer himself, Netanyahu. On
an AIPAC funded tour.
Yeah. And this is against the backdrop of Mr. Super Zionist, senator of yours, Mr. Schumer, going on the Senate floor and basically trying to cast blame. I am the most proud Zionist you'll ever see, but we have to deal with Netanyahu.
Right,
so
Netanyahu's the problem.
I've already gone down that rabbit hole. But
right, that'll fix it.
For whatever reason, Wasserman Schultz has made it clear that she is going to go down with the AIPAC ship
Oh, yeah.
all the way.
She's doubling down.
There is no getting off it. She'll stay with it the whole way.
She just came back.
So the day after Schumer makes that statement, she goes on CNN right before she leaves to go to Israel to say, and I quote, that it is Hamas that is preventing humanitarian aid from getting into Gaza. Still going with that lie, even after everything that's been proven, even after you've seen the trucks and the Israeli flags waving.
Yeah,
telling you, your stuff's not getting in here. It's Hamas's fault.
They won't negotiate. Yeah, because they're not morons. They're not going to agree to a 6-week
Which is actually not true because they offered, yes, exactly. I mean, they've also tried to negotiate ceasefires and release the hostages. And by hostages, we also mean, or especially the Palestinian, it's all for all the prisoners who have been there before this whole situation happened. Children being tortured and family members caught in, and also just 2 weeks ago, they took like 8 people from my village. Like 4 of them were women in the middle of the night, abducted them. No one's going to hear about that. Like,
no.
And it's great. And this has been happening my whole life. This is nothing new. When I grew up there, and my brothers and I were born in the US, in the middle of the night, they come and take all the boys, whether anyone who's 12 and even to 11, 10, sometimes just that is abduction, and they take you whenever they want. So to now start the clock again after October 7th, like, oh no, now there's hostages. There's been, what do you think this was for? It wasn't to kill them or to torture them for the sake of that. They're using it as a bargaining chip, and they've offered we'll release them. So anyway, obviously you know this, but it's just so the hypocrisy and it's delusional. It's absolutely it's so gaslighting, and you're just like, what reality are we living in?
Well, a reality that she likes to construct in her own brain. So apparently this happened earlier today, again on CNN. CNN really likes having Debbie Wasserman.
And let me tell you, please keep doing so. If you have the stomach. No. That's fundraising for us, baby. Keep it up, Debbie. Fly, Icarus, fly.
Here we go.
From the president, given the fact that he said this is in fact a red line.
What I believe, Erica, is that Hamas needs to release the 134 hostages, and as well as the bodies of the deceased who died in their captivity. What I believe is that Hamas needs to end the threat that they represent to Israel's very existence, that they have committed repeatedly, and people keep forgetting this, or it's shoved aside because with the distance of time, that they are sworn to have October 7th be the first, but there'll be a second, a third, and a 1,000th time. And so,
as well, there should be.
How many hostages does Israel have of Palestinian people? What is it, like 1,200 or something?
No, it's how many? Thousands. Yeah, no, it's over 2,000. Look, it's well over 2,000 because they've only been and that only is people.
And they rearrest them. So it's a joke that they even released, last time, because they can come and abduct you right away and rearrest you. Also, this woman clearly knows nothing about lines. Like, what is going on with her eyeliner? She's just she looks even more evil. I don't, I'm just saying, girl,
I want to comment on her.
I know. Don't comment on her appearance, but I will tell you this, and I've been I've been in her presence more times than I care to count.
Yeah.
And what I can tell you is this, and I've heard this from basically everybody that's ever been around here that isn't a complete political sycophant.
Right.
There's a very negative energy that surrounds her. And so if you're in her presence, you can feel it. You can feel that there is something very nefarious about her that you don't want to be around her for any longer than you need to be. So it's not entirely surprising.
Oh,
I'll pull that up.
Oh, okay. Because Chip's got the numbers. Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's important that people understand that Debbie is basically saying she's getting to the point now where she's not only crossing Schumer and the president, she is literally going along with exactly what Netanyahu. Why do you think that they had a meeting? Why is the first thing that she does when she comes back from Israel to go on with CNN? She basically had her private meeting with Netanyahu.
These are the talking points.
Exactly what to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
People don't think for themselves.
There's no country on earth, including and especially the United States, that would tolerate conditions like that, and neither should.
By the way, one thing that I have to point out. One thing I do have to point out: a person that constantly is blinking their eyes, is having to think about what they're going to say.
Well, here's the thing, though. She's also moving around a lot, and I don't know if that's not something that's like a physical thing. And I don't want to talk about that because there might be something, and I don't know.
But they always say that people are lying when they're constantly blinking their eyes. I'm just saying.
All right.
Or is Israel? And so this can end tomorrow. It could end in 5 minutes if those conditions are met. So let's make sure that Qatar and Egypt and other countries that have sway with let's make sure that they use their leverage and help get the hostages home, including the 6 American hostages that are still in captivity, and ensure that that threat ends.
You mentioned the situation on the ground for civilians. Bernie Sanders said this morning, Senator Sanders, that President Biden needs to make it clear, in his view, that the U.S. support for Israel does, in fact, have some limitations. Here's more of what Senator Sanders said.
The United States of America cannot be complicit in this mass slaughter of children. What you can say to Netanyahu, stop the slaughter, no more money to Netanyahu's war machine to kill Palestinian children.
President Biden yesterday in that same interview, when he was asked about a red line, he went on to say 30,000 additional Palestinian deaths would be a red line. Do you also see that as a red line?
What I see is that we have to make sure that Iran, who is obviously tied closely to Hamas, Hezbollah, aren't able to declare victory because this was all part of their plan. They intended and knew.
I cannot watch this.
I mean, if this is not, and this is what we've been saying for years, if this is not a corporate captured federal representative of the highest order.
Oh my God.
First of all, it's the classic politics speak of saying no when it has to be explained.
No, she didn't even answer
way.
it. She did a switch. It was the switch.
No, her answer is no, and that's her way of saying no without having to say the word
all
no.
I know is it was also a nice way for her to inject Iran in, because nothing will help more, Debbie, than having inflammatory rhetoric about Iran. That's what we need. Let's throw that in here.
I mean, Atheer, you would agree that this is like straight out of APAC playbook.
And it's just like playing on people's fears as fear mongering. It's manipulation. I honestly don't think they're not very smart. It's the same talking points that you can, clearly see holes through their entire argument. It's ridiculous. There's the same puppets that just repeat the same thing over and over. And as if also Biden has any sway over Netanyahu. Right. It's like he's a warmonger, bloodthirsty criminal who is not going to listen to anybody. He is a sociopathic narcissist too. Like, why would he listen to the U.S.? But it's like, oh, now after we prop them up for 75 years, 80 years, let's now say, hey, maybe slow it down a little bit on the genocide, as if that's not how Israel managed to be created in the first place. It's a little too late now that we have social media and other people seeing what's going on, and elections are coming up, and Biden is seeing how that's negatively impacting him. It's like, oh, okay, let me send aid while also funding their bombs.
Yeah, I gave everybody, in my mind, everybody had a 3-week max grace period after October 7th to get on the right side of history on this, in terms of their legacies. Now, and politically, there are people, they're never coming back from this, as far as I'm concerned. This is, and anybody within that period that came to their senses, they're on the right side of history. And after that, at this point, it doesn't matter what they say. You're done. You're unredeemable.
And this is the whole point that is being made that some people in the chat don't seem to fully understand, is that you should be thankful that there has only been one 10-7, if you will, that has happened at this point. There is a genocide that is going on right now.
But apparently it's going to take another 30,000 for Biden to care.
That's apparently, and it's an ongoing, genocide since 1940. And people are just now just seeing the history is starting as when it hurt them, when for the first time they felt it. Imagine since the inception of Israel, if that's how what happened on October 7th, tenfold happened every single moment of every second. Would we stand for this? Based on the rumors alone that they started about the babies and the raping and all that, based on just rumors, everybody was like, completely on their side and gave them complete impunity. And now we're seeing things that are horrifically worse than even their rumors, and people don't care. So clearly, people want to pick and choose whose human rights are worth fighting for or upholding.
Yeah. All right.
We have to finish
we'll
it.
finish
I
it out.
cannot with her.
That Israel, rightfully so, would respond forcefully in their defense. And their goal, by using civilians as human shields, by putting their people in harm's way that don't really have the same value for human life as most other civilized nations in the world do. And this is
But you see, that's when the bigotry comes out.
Well, no, and this is the best thing ever, because
Wow.
this, to me, and I've said it over and over again, one, how do you know Israel's lying? Their lips are moving. But that aside, every single thing that comes out of Israel in terms of what Palestinians do, what Hamas does, what she's saying, all of that is confessions as to what Israel does. And I know that because I was a human shield for the state of Israel. Yeah, that's right. So you can sit there and say that all you want, because they use human shields. What do you think they're doing when they take teenagers into occupied territory and have them planting trees under armed guard protecting them? If you're taking my kids somewhere where you need to bring an armed guard, then you're somewhere you ought not be. And I call that human shields. This infuriates me to no end.
Well, using Palestinians as human shields by tying them to their tanks and whatever. And
no, but they use their own.
And use their own. Yeah. I mean, the hostages' families are like, please release them. They're begging Netanyahu. They're the ones trying to get, they're protesting, and they're the ones
killed them, their own hostages. They shot three of their own. We saw that. All of this, the fact that this woman can sit here and say that anybody in Israel cares government-wise about the hostages, that's just a lie. That's a lie. You're indiscriminately bombing a place that is this big, and you don't know where your people are, and you're saying you care about them. I don't understand how anybody can accept that. That is absurd.
What is most impressive to me is the level of lying that Debbie is willing to go to. This is so beyond the pale at this point. It's like somebody ought to grill her and figure out how she can, because they say like one lie becomes another, and then it's like, how do you even know what the truth is anymore? This is
they believe it. They convince themselves to believe it. Yeah,
she is a very unique political corporate captured representative, in that I think it's twofold. I think she does what she does for the money and the power, and I think she believes it too. That is very dangerous. We'll finish it out.
All part of this is all by design, Erica. They want to turn the world against Israel, and we have to make sure that while making sure there is humanitarian assistance and the hunger that is growing is addressed, that Israel has the threat removed, that Hamas, as the terrorist organization that it is, continues to represent, and hostages are released. Both things have to happen, and the world, and the Arab world in particular, needs to lean in on Hamas and its allies and ensure that we can have peace. We don't need to be talking about conditions in the United States on our aid. We need to be talking about putting worldwide pressure on this terrorist organization who is holding 134 people in captivity.
Go to hell.
I honestly, it's really, I like that it is out there, because it really does let her present herself for who she is, versus if you don't see her, people forget who she is. And I love her reminding everybody who she is. But to me, that is like the most off the wall thing. She didn't mention anything about one dead Palestinian. She didn't, but these are people that these people believe that prior to October 7th, there was peace. See, and the thing is, the delusion is that on their end it was, because peace.
That's what exactly it. That's a colonial. There's a colonial oppressive concept to them. It's their term. We don't want peace. We want justice. We want freedom. We want liberation. But to them, it's like peace is us just shutting the hell up and doing whatever they want, continuing to get killed in silence.
Right, but yet perpetuating violence. Oppression is violence. I even consider violence them brainwashing me the first 40 years of my life and all of that propaganda, because that puts toxicity in my head. And that's violence. And so all of these things, keeping people oppressed is violence. If you're standing on someone's neck, even though you're standing still and they can't get up, That's violence. So that's essentially what's happening. So to say that anything was peaceful prior to October 7th just shows your level of privilege and delusion, that to you, you perceive that quiet that you gain from having, walls and guards and guns as peace. And yet we know that peace can only exist with justice. Real peace can only exist with justice. And people like her that are sitting there talking about, we don't have conditions and blah, 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 and Iran and blah, blah, blah. It's really, that to me is, she's just lying, because this is not willfully, she knows the truth. There's no way she doesn't know the truth. So she's just willing to lie. But I don't think
whoever's willing to genocide is definitely willing to lie. I mean, that's a way lesser offense. So it's funny how people keep thinking like Israel is not going to lie after we've blatantly seen all of the things that they just keep topping themselves in the horrific actions and murders. And then lying is such it just goes with the territory. It's the most innocuous thing compared to what they're doing. The lying is just,
Well, you deal with it with Richie Torres. I mean, he basically does the same thing.
That man.
Only he does it in a much more presentable and pleasant kind of way.
I don't find it pleasant.
I
think everyone, and this is my theory about Richie Torres, and honestly, I don't know him. I just whatever. But when I look at his post and then I read the comments, most of the comments to me look like bots. Like how I feel about the K-Hive. I don't think it's real. I think that it's people that they almost have whatever following they're paying to make comments. Because if you look on Richie Torres's page, it's the same people always sort of commenting, and they're always just these cheerleading comments. There's never anything thoughtful. There's never, who does that? No one really does that. Nobody just constantly posts yay you every single time.
I will say this though, if you look at any social media posts, for the most part, there's exceptions because of certain things that maybe she'll do once in a blue moon on Instagram with the very her kind, if you will, in Weston, Florida. But if you look at the overwhelming majority of the posts that Debbie puts out there, it is insanely negative commentary in her direction. Like everybody.
Yeah, she gets ratioed all over the place.
She's an evil person, and people are through with her. It's just a question of, do we have enough momentum over the just under 5 months? The election is August 20th. For those of you who didn't know,
August 20th.
Very important that people understand how important this race really is, because it is. And you never want to put a premium on one congressional flip in terms of how much of a difference it can really make.
Not in terms of legislation in Congress.
Correct.
I mean, right. Like,
Correct.
No.
Like, I would definitely say that the difference between having AOC versus Crowley in Congress is that I think Alex has inspired a lot of people.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people have taken the reins, if you will, into the political arena in a good way, especially groups like DSA.
And especially locally in New York.
And the Working Families Party in New York is actually very good. So when that happens, that's where the positive can happen. The positive that can happen from replacing somebody like Debbie Wasserman Schultz with somebody like Jen Perlman, I think is very significant. And I think that would have first of all, to have an immediate impact on Florida politics. And then I think it would have an even more tremendous impact on the nation at large, because it would show that you actually do have a former Zionist Jew speaking truth to power on this very issue. It's very easy to go after Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. It's another thing entirely if you have to go after somebody like her.
Oh, I'd love it. Please,
you already know the talking points because they've used them against you, and they've used them to turn you to, as you were saying, it's brainwashing. It's a cult. I mean, we keep talking about Zionism is a cult.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And again, it's all built on money and power, like almost everything else in the history of mankind. If you want to know why people live and die, yes, religion has a component, but remember, the people who kill in the name of religion are doing it for money and power.
Right.
End of discussion.
Well, and the reality is the majority of Zionists are Christian. So, and there are more Christian Zionists in this country than there are Jews in the world.
That's why you get a representative like Mr. Wahlberg in Michigan, of all places, which is like 1 or 2 districts over from where Rashida Tlaib is, saying, we might as well just Hiroshima or Nagasaki these people. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, hey, you know what? I appreciate your transparency. At least you're being honest.
Thank you for your honesty.
And ironically, he actually tried to very tepidly issue a retraction earlier today.
No.
That didn't go over well.
No, you can't.
So with that being said, we are extremely thankful that you did come on the podcast this evening. How can people follow your work, get involved? Again, you are a comedian, so you really are, you are the voice of the working class. Like, you are the person that people come to shows that need to hear about what it's like on the ground. So whatever we could do to help boost your message, we truly are happy to have you. And then, of course, obviously, we will connect regarding setting up a comedy fundraiser for Jen down here in South Florida.
Well, really,
amazing.
I kind of want to meet you. That's really what I use this show for. I actually, one of the reasons I started this was because I'd read something really good and I'd want to talk to the author, and it's kind of creepy to just call people. Whereas if you have a show, you can invite them on to talk about it. So that's
this isn't even live, right? This is just us on a fake Zoom.
No, but that's the thing. But that's why I love it, and I'd love to meet you.
I do the same thing with podcast. I had a podcast. I'm starting a new one now, but it was called the No Fly List, and I've had a lot of people. I mean, you can still check it out. We've had amazing guests on there.
That's awesome.
Including Malcolm Yusuf early on. Yeah, well, I'm not doing that one anymore because I was co-hosting. I'm doing a new podcast now called Toxic Dump. It'll be coming out soon, but one of the guests is a anti-Zionist comedian. We talk about kind of also the brainwashing and unlearning of Zionism and all these different things. But if you can follow me just on social media, I'm more active on Instagram at Atheer Yacoub, or my website, atheeryacoub.com, you'll see a show list calendar. I will be traveling around, try to update my calendar. I might actually be in Miami end of June for a Palestine fundraiser. I'll let you know, because that's not that far from Fort Lauderdale, is it?
No,
it's not that far,
that's
right?
close. That's a good combination.
So at the Villain Theater, my friend Tariq is he's a comedian and he runs the Villain Theater, and he's working on putting a fundraiser for Palestine on. So yeah, he's Palestinian, but also just very funny. So also check out Villain Theater. It's in Miami. It's the only theater I've seen with a huge Palestinian flag in the green room, and I'm like, oh my god, you never see that at a comedy place. But yeah, just at Atheer Yacoub. And if you want to book me, you just go DM me, go through my website, whatever.
We're David Cross, we're going to book
email me.
Yeah, I think this could be a really good idea.
I just want to ask you before you go, where is your family from in Palestine?
In Ramallah, in the West Bank.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, that's almost like the obvious city answer. And when you're
it's outside there. Like there's a village that I guess nobody really knows, but that's where I lived and grew up. But yeah. I mean,
awesome.
I guess we were privileged enough to come here at the same time. It's weird, and like my tax dollars are going to kill my people, and it's all just we got to stop. We got to stop the aid. That's the only way it's going to stop. Boycott BDS, boycott them. Don't give any money.
Nope.
Not for weapons.
That's how you send you off on a good note.
Here you go. Here you'll get Bernie.
Oh.
I just want to come on here. I just want to remind you that you really do a wonderful job. I'm from Brooklyn. Did you know that?
I know you're from Brooklyn. Yes.
So I just want to tell you, you're doing a wonderful job. Keep up the great work. I'm doing the best I can. But my good friend Joe.
Joe is not your friend.
But my hands are tied. What am I supposed to do?
Whatever.
So, I appreciate good comedy and self-deprecating humor. Of course, being a Brooklyn Jew, I would know. You definitely want to get out there. Make sure you click the links in the description and support this wonderful lady, Atheer Yacoub. She's a good lady. She's known to she's doing a great job. So support her. Make sure you get out there, do what you got to do. Good to see.
Yeah. And our Bernie has made a lot of the statements that we wished the real Bernie has made. So sometimes we'll do it like, what would we want Bernie to say at this moment? And we'll have our Bernie say it, like, ceasefire or whatever it was at
He's
whatever
had
time.
some disappointing moments for me, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well, bottom line, I will forever be grateful for him waking me up the way that he did in the summer of 2015. And even though I don't like the directions he's taken, I still recognize that so many of us, while I think at this point we're still somewhat of a sleeping giant because we're kind of we're disorganized right now in a lot of ways. I think that the energy is still there. We just need to find a way to corral it again, and I think we can do that. And it's sickening that it has to even happen under these types of circumstances. But keep fighting. It always is. Yeah. Keep fighting the great fight. Really appreciate you coming on, and we will definitely.
Thanks so nice to meet you here.
Nice to meet you both. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye. Thank you.
That was
Yeah.
a great guess.
Yes, excellent guess.
That was a great guess.
So we've
good
got-
find.
Yeah, so we've got one. Oh, well, thank you.
Good
I've done good
find.
for a couple of things, you know.
Well,
not-
a lot of
not
times
lot.
we bring on people based on I read something, and it's not normally like just necessarily somebody that, I mean, every once in a while it is, but usually it's we know ahead, like I know the person.
You guys know that we emphasize a lot about supporting the show, and of course, Double K. What can we say?
Double K.
What Double K?
K,
What can we say?
KK and Chip.
Chip, thank you
Chip
very
and
much.
KK.
The latest attack on El Shifa, the
Oh.
IAF has shown they're always a way to find the lower bottom, and that's exactly what Wasserman Schultz basically said when she was saying,
she
like,
always finds a lower
well,
bottom.
you know, you gotta get those hostages back. It's like, come on, lady, you're not fooling anybody anymore. I have soldiers going back to get some of the same PTSD and U.S., Vietnam, and Iraq war vets.
Yeah,
they are going to regret what they have done.
I agree too.
Probably. And yeah, apparently it's about 12,000.
Oh my God.
Didn't
Well,
realize it was that
I
heavy.
would have thought, like, because I know that what happens is like what Atheer was saying, they'll release somebody and you'll catch that number, but then while they release that person, they're arresting a dozen more from somewhere else. So it's like, I don't know how anybody can ever keep track of it.
One step forward, two steps back, as they say.
I agree with you, Chip. I think that all of these people will have a reckoning. For
Let me
this.
tell you something, Debbie, with what she's doing, I would charge her in The Hague. Like she is aiding and abetting a genocide.
Clearly.
She really is.
Yeah.
Like the talking point, the fact that she met with Netanyahu and it sounds as if she was given a script to read off.
She was. But here's the most disgusting thing. Like when you think about it, so she's been there for a week. So basically, for a week of Ramadan, and over Easter, Good Friday and Easter. So basically, when the entire world really is sort of thinking and discussing a Palestinian Jew. Think about this. The resurrection of the Palestinian Jew, and she's over there basically condoning the entire genocide of said Palestinian Jews people. I cannot stress this enough to my fellow tribes people. The Palestinians are our original Hebrews. Those are the
Wasn't
original.
Jesus a Palestinian Jew?
Those
That's
are
right.
the original Hebrews. The ones in the Bible are original people. Why can they not understand? To my tribesmen, those are our original people. Some of us then left, went into the diaspora. Those that remained, some of them converted to Christianity. Some of them converted to Islam. Still our people.
Jen, what is one of the three main policies that you are fighting for as you try to become the next congresswoman from FL25?
Well, I am all about healthcare, housing, and jobs.
And what type of job program are you supporting?
Federal job guarantee.
Thank you, Danny.
Love that. We'll always talk about federal job guarantee. I talk about it all the time when I'm interviewed. It is important. It is on our website at gen2024.org. When you look under issues, I very much mention that. It is part of the 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights that I am a strong proponent of. That is basically the type of Democratic Party that, in my mind, we need to have in order for it to even count as what I consider a Democratic Party.
For those of you who are specifically our Irishmen and our Scotsmen, we want you to be able to go over to patreon.com/generational change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of our small but mighty podcast. We seem to be doing a great job. Just give her a religion.
Danny, as someone who has grown up very, I've always been an atheist in the sense that there has never been a time in my life when I believed in a higher power. There hasn't. I never believed and then didn't believe or whatever. So it's just, I've always been this way. My problem with anything is when you get to something that's so dogmatic, it inevitably leads to what we're looking at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, you know what? It's a prime example. It's a prime example, almost like you could look at this from a psychological analysis of people coming out of trauma that are victims and perpetuating that onto another group of victims. It's almost like textbook seeming in a psychological way that that's what would happen, which is why when you commit trauma on the Palestinians, it is pretty commonsensical to think that they are going to then perpetrate trauma as well. Violence begets violence. The level of violence in any civilization is determined by the oppressor. The level of violence is determined by the oppressor. So when I say things like, this will not end without more October 7th, and I say something like, as it should be, because that's human nature. People will resist oppression. People will rise up against oppression. You cannot keep people oppressed and think they should just take it. That is not reasonable. That's not how this works. So until there is justice for Palestine, until they have self-determination, until their people are not oppressed, they will continue to resist at the same level of violence that is being determined by their oppressor.
And for anybody,
just like it's not that I want that. I don't want any of that. I don't want any of this. I want to see the end of the Zionist state. It has been you know what? It's a failed experiment. We need to accept that, and we need to move on from it. And that is where my mind is at. But to not expect violence in our future from people rightfully angry is just delusional.
Well, that's also part of the problem that some people in the chat just don't seem to understand, is that you have to, I always say, the biggest mistake that has been done for years and years, especially of the scared Democratic voters, especially liberal, suburban, type voters, they never ever put themselves in the shoes of they never think like an independent voter. They always think that we're Democrats, we're better than Republicans. That is why you lose. You don't think like independent voters. And let me tell you, independent voters tend to think like very working class individuals. And by that measure, the Democratic Party is anything but that at this point. It's gotten to the point where it's almost sickening how bad it's gotten.
Yeah.
And so we're going to conclude with one.
Wait, I just want to respond to Brian St. Pierre. I understand that you see it as a bad take. I do. I understand that you see it as a bad take. It would be a bad take if it was what I wanted to happen. I don't support any of this. I don't want any of this to happen. No. But as a person who is very big on the concept of reason, I think that we need to address human nature. And human nature will continue to do this, and that is its nature, because people will not live under your boot forever.
No.
I don't want that. That's my point. I'm trying to not have that. But yeah, I read the tea leaves, man. I'm just reading the tea leaves.
The fact that Trump has come out and said specifically that they have to end this, that this must end in Gaza, is only going to further assist his efforts to win re-election.
He's going to come on the left again.
He's not being re-elected.
He's attacking them from the left,
just like he did in 2016. Just like he did in 2016, and it worked
every time.
And you know what? And you know what else works? Things like this. So for those of you who were paying attention at the end of last week, as we know, President Biden met with former Presidents Clinton and Obama at Radio City Music Hall and did a fundraiser for $25 million. Do you know what the average donation was for this event? $100,000.
And before you play this, I just want to say during my call time today, because I do call time, I actually had one of the people that I called mention. It was a woman who's out in Hawaii, and mentioned how absolutely she was disgusted by this fundraiser. This in particular, she's like, I was already done with the Democrats, but if I weren't, I would be now.
Travers wants you to know that Katie got himself a pair of these.
Nice. She got that. Well, she'd asked me where I got them, and I wish I could say they were small artisan earrings, but they're not. I also saw somebody ask how come I'm an atheist rather than an agnostic. Well, that's like me saying, why are you a Presbyterian and not a Lutheran?
I'm an agnostic. I'm an agnostic.
I'm not an agnostic. I
believe in the possibility.
I'm not that. I'm an atheist. I've always been an atheist. I'm an atheist just because I am. I've always been one. Now, I was raised very traditionally Jewish, went to Jewish holidays. All 8 of my great-grandparents were Jewish. Raised very much with the tradition. I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of my family and people that escaped what they escaped from Russia to come here. I have a lot of pride in that heritage and who I am. And so, but I've always been an atheist. I just have. It's yeah.
So let's see what all the fuss was about at Radio City Music Hall, but apparently it wasn't without protest, which is always necessary at times like this.
Victory in Palestine. But I do believe people watching at home.
I love it.
Excuse me, Mr. President. For people who are watching at home on the TV, you may not be able to hear me. There's some protesters here. Hold on a second here.
I love how they call them losers.
How much you want to bet this woman's from Long Island?
I
would bet any amount of money that this woman's
and
from
I'd
Long
like
Island.
to say, lady, you mean the Hamas that Benjamin Netanyahu and his cronies funded and put there so as to create this exact type of problem? Okay, continue.
Stop bombing them. Yo, there's a fucking protest behind you. Y'all want to cover it? Corporate media! Corporate media! Are you listening? There's a protest behind you. Turn your fucking cameras! Turn your fucking cameras! Israel bombs! Do your job! Corporate media! Are you listening?
I want to find that guy. I like that guy. We need to find him.
What is even more amazing is that it's as if one of them could just turn around and say, yeah, we're not allowed to cover you.
Right. We see you, but
we know you're there.
But we'll lose our job.
We'll lose our job.
We can't
actually do that. And all the while, they want you to believe that the end all be all.
Wait, go back. I know Hamas is not good, but here's the thing. Go down to that. Put that up. Here's the thing. Hamas is not good. Hamas is not bad. It just is. It's an entire organization, one part of which is militant. It is not good. It is not bad. It is just not what we choose. They are, in many cases, fighting for their people in a way that we just don't agree with. But I'm not going to label anything entirely good or entirely bad because there is an entire history there. And to take out all of that context and all of that nuance and just label them as bad, those are the kinds of commentary and stuff that has gotten us into this mess in the first place, is not understanding context and nuance. So no, I am not going to condemn an entire organization, only one part of which is militant. And we really know very little other than what our mainstream media and our stenographers are telling us about said group. So as someone who has been lied to repeatedly by similar types of brainwashing and gaslighting, I'm just going to say I am neutral as to what they are. But what I will say is that it's all dependent on what side of the wall you're on. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. And I do not condone violence, but I understand it.
Well, apparently Andy still appreciates you. So
thank you, Andy.
The Center Podcast, Jen and Pete live on the live stream. Yes, we are, for only a few more minutes because we don't want to.
We're happy. We're happy.
Yes,
we're good. We're happy you're here.
Yes. So still figuring out what Thursday is going to be, but it is going to be at 9:00. And so for those of you that are here.
Wait, can I say this too? Because we're on Likud. Brian St. Pierre. They are not just very bad, they are psychopathic. Now, they are the group, the Likud party, that is the group that actually created the entire river to the sea trope and made it what it is. And their river to the sea trope is the genocide that you're seeing being carried out right now. That was where the river to the sea thing originated. Now, when the Likud party said it would be Jewish from the river to the sea, and then the Palestinians replied to that concept saying it will be a free Palestine from the river to the sea. One side is wanting to genocide the people there. The other side is just wanting the people there to be free. It's not even.
Colin,
it's just not even.
Colin, check the chat, please.
But yes, Likud is very bad.
Yeah. What are they again?
The Likud party?
Yeah.
That's the political party, like Netanyahu's political party. Like that's their political party in their charter, in their mission of the Likud party back in like the 70s. it said about clearing Palestine and making it Jewish only from the river to the sea.
Ah.
Well, the only way to do that, and by the way, their image, the Likud party image of what is Greater Palestine, as people know, is way bigger. It crosses over. It goes up to, I think it goes into parts of Iraq and Lebanon and Syria. And like their vision of what they view Greater Palestine to the river of the sea and the sea being only Jewish, if they had their way, they'd be genociding a much bigger area. I assure you.
Colin, check your text and pull it up because we want to do this before we go. So, look.
No, I don't think, well, Hamas is not just a political party. It's a much bigger organization. The Likud party is a very specific party that has a very specific charter that is very evil. Hamas, the militant parts of Hamas, yes, there's probably very evil people in there. Now, but when you say Hamas, and Likud, you're comparing apples and oranges. Hamas is really this big kind of much more of an amorphous thing that is all over the place, whereas the Likud party is very specific with a very specific charter. So it isn't that one is good and one is bad. You're kind of comparing apples and oranges. Okay, continue.
Well, again, you know, there are people who need you to say that Hamas is bad because apparently that's the end all be all.
But I know it's like they want to get that in writing or something. But yes.
Guys, understand, Jen's going to do it her way. I can't stop her.
No.
No one's going to stop her. If you think that it's too far for her to suggest that Hamas is something that is only going to be taken out when the occupation ends, I would agree. That is it.
Yeah, you can't. You're not going to stifle an ideology by stifling the ideology. Like it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So yeah, I mean, I'm speaking in reason,
and you don't like my music has it right. You know, you can dislike both, but you don't want them to die. And again, the way that happens is when the occupation ends.
Right.
That's how it happens.
Right.
No other way. Now, of course, if DWS had it her way, she really would just blow them off the face of the earth, or bomb them, I shouldn't say. But you guys got the idea.
You want to know who I think we're fighting? What do you mean, who are we fighting? Who's kicking our butt? Capital. Yeah. Every single one of these things, we share the same oppressor. If the labor movement, the anti-war movement, the environmental movement, all of these groups got together and showed up for each other's actions, that is when we get a general strike. And the reason is that even though all their issues are different, the oppressor is all the same. So once people start recognizing that the oppressor is the same and coordinating, even though their issue might be different than your issue, that is where our power lies. That is when we will see something like a general strike. But in order to get to that point, we need to be building coalitions between movements that aim at the same oppressor, which is basically all of us. And as we do that, we build community, we build safety nets, we build a system wherein people will at some point be able to do a general strike, and we will have the support system and mechanisms in place to support that. And the only way that happens is when all of these groups coalesce to fight the same oppressor.
For those of you in the chat who really have a strong opinion about this and want to complain to Jen in person, which you can do, make sure that you come to our fundraiser on Thursday night with Nina Turner. You will have the opportunity to
air your grievances.
There will be an airing of grievances.
We can have an airing of grievances.
So make sure you click the QR code. Make sure that you also send an email to Ava at email Ava at finance@gen2024.org if you would like to attend.
Me, myself, and I, what group, what individual? See, that's your problem right there, is that you think it's one group and one individual. You mean who we're fighting against. It's, well, if you wanted to get a group of individuals that were symbolic of it, I'd say go with any group that meets at Davos. The group of people that meet at Davos, that would probably be a good start as to who the source of the problem is. And then you could go into, well, is it, the deep state military industrial complex? Is it big pharma, big agri, big banks, Wall Street, whatever? Those people at the tops of those food chains, that's the problem. Now there are names of people, like you can look these people up. They are real people, but that's the issue. And then they have us all fighting amongst ourselves and worrying about whether our oligarchs speak Russian or Chinese. Like that's going to affect most people's lives, what language their oligarch speaks. So, this is something that until people realize that we have a common enemy and it's above us, It's not on the sides of us. It's certainly not below us. It's not the immigrants.
Stuff you can't see, stuff you can't touch.
And that's the enemy. And the enemy will only be taken out when we hit them in the economy. And the only way that ever really happens is with something akin to a general strike. And the only way that happens is when we build a coalition, when we stop petty infighting with each other over stupid bullshit and realize that we're all being oppressed by the same people.
And
so therein is my story.
And therein lies the real problem here, which is like saying that Hamas is evil. Okay, so let's just say for the sake of argument that Hamas is evil. How does that stop them? Because if you continue what's going on, Hamas gets stronger and bigger and more effective. Do you know how you stop that from happening? You end the genocide and you end the occupation. And you hope and pray that it can end there, because there's a lot of grieving families out there and people who are going to want to get potentially revenge.
I love that Henry's quoting me.
Yeah.
I love that. It is very true, though.
Well, again, that's, you know.
It's, and it, let
like
me
I
tell
said,
you here, we'll put it up. Henry's being nice enough to quote me.
Oh, Henry likes to have fun.
And I love that, because it really is a lesson that is a really painful one to learn. And the thing is, and I say, I never start with people. I don't want issues with people. I don't want that crap in my head. I don't want to get down to people's petty level, but unfortunately I can.
And Andy, this is where we are too. And we are small business canvassers to a fault in this area, because we see where things are going. We understand, again, we don't want fascism. We don't want communism. There has to be an understanding that we need a working class agenda in this country.
Yes.
And if we don't have it, this country is going to hell. In fact, it already is going to hell, because people can't afford to live. They can't afford to rent, and they can't afford to buy. So they can't afford to own.
What about the people that are working full-time jobs and are still unhoused?
Yeah.
So this is not a problem that's going to be solved by any one group or any one effort. This is something that will only truly be solved when all of those groups realize that we're fighting the same oppressor. But, you know, when you're talking about the issues we're talking about in terms of housing, jobs, it's really a 21st century economic bill of rights.
I know Brian wants to think that that's the answer, but the truth is Israel is going to be no different than Russia and no different than Ukraine. The votes don't matter. There is not going to probably even be an election.
Well, not just that, but Brian, the truth is that recently there was a poll, and it was at least 60% of the Israelis there didn't have a problem with what was going on in Gaza. They're fairly supportive of it. Now, some more rabidly than others.
Sure.
But the reality is, you could get rid of Netanyahu and you could get rid of the Likud party. And you know what? There's actually more conservative party than the Likud party.
Well, you've even said that this is the problem with people coming to the party late. So when you come to the party late, you don't understand how Israel over the last probably generation has gotten rapidly Zionistic and right wing, not even conservative. That's not even a
because Israel, like when I was in Israel in '87, and when I was there, it was before the walls were built, before all that stuff. So like the apartheid was much more kept under wraps. It wasn't as obvious, but the people that served in the army, the people that lived there, for the most part, were secular. And the people that served were just regular people. I had even made some friends when I was staying in the dorms there for the program I was in that lived in that town that would come and hang out with us, like young people that were serving in the military. They were regular people. They were secular, and they did all different kinds of service. It wasn't like this now. Most of the regular, rational people over the past, at least since 2014, have been migrating out of Israel. That is why we have seen a huge influx here. So what is left, and a lot of the refuseniks, the people that refuse to serve, they serve time. But a lot of the more secular people are not there and are not serving in the military there. So what you are left with is an incredibly rabid, right-wing, zealot-like military. So the whole thing has shifted to the right in a way that is very Nazi-ish. Yeah. It is. And it wasn't always like that. Now, I am not saying Israel at any point was not an oppressive state. It always has been an oppressive state.
Couldn't have said it better than Chris Garrett. It is permanent capital, which wants everyone to succumb to economic slavery. It's not a race issue. It's a class issue.
Yeah. And somebody was commenting about Nina's picture. I think it's pretty badass. But that's actually the one that her people sent for us to use. Yeah. So it isn't like we pulled it, but I actually really like it. It's updated. It's got, I think because Nina's badass.
She is.
She is badass.
And considering that AIPAC or just pro-Israel lobby groups gave Chantel Brown over $1 million to make sure that Nina didn't get to Congress, I would say that that's pretty serious business and something we are going to talk about. We're going to talk about AIPAC Tracker, which is an amazing grassroots group that is growing leaps and bounds on Twitter as we speak, and has been doing a really great job covering what's going on right now.
This is a very good question. Jen, who is behind the vaccine and mandates? Who caused the whole world to lose its mind? Who caused the doctors to forget the Hippocratic Oath? I'm not going to necessarily say that everybody lost their mind. Some of us were still rational. But I'm going to go with a combination of Big Pharma. I'm going to go Big Pharma for 10, and I'll double down and go like things like, I don't know, World Health Organization, CDC, you pick them, whichever one. And I go even Pfizer leading the charge. That would be my response. Thoughts? Like, who was behind that? Who was behind the vaccines and mandates?
Just, again, Big Pharma, many of the major corporations that want to make as much money as humanly possible. That's what it's about.
Travers.
Okay, so, yeah. So
what are you wanting for? What are you looking for?
So I'm getting a message from our fearless leader that I should not be telling people to email Ava. So disregard that. If you are interested, if you can share the link in the comments or show description.
That's what it is. So
okay. Colin, are you able to hyperlink that?
That ticket,
yeah.
the Act Blue thing.
Yeah, the Act Blue.
Well, look, no, and the QR code is up there too, just next to the other QR code, but they're different.
Yeah, QR code. Okay.
Yes. You got to follow the directions, dude.
I'm trying.
I know.
But I guess I'm kind of a dumbass. So
no, but did you, but like, I don't know what made you think to tell them to email her. I don't know what I didn't know what the rule was.
I don't think that was part of it.
No, no, there's a method.
Yes. Last thing we will mention before we go, and we'll cover it more on Thursday. Again, this was a show tonight that we had a lot of different things to cover. But the good news is, and we will cover this on Thursday in greater length, but Florida today has decided that the law will be upheld. Abortion rights and legalizing cannabis will be ballot measures in November.
Nice.
So that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Metal, yes, you are a little late.
So guys, make sure that you copy this link, or you could click on the QR code if you can see it right here. This is how you get involved. We would love to have you come to Jen's fundraiser with Nina Turner on Thursday at 8 p.m. We will obviously follow that up with a live stream shortly thereafter. So there'll be lots to talk about. So we will be live on Thursday at 9 p.m.
You guys, if you've not, and here's an opportunity to like hear Nina up close and personal. It is like going to church. Yes. I will say it's really inspired. Nina's inspired.
Yes. So we hope that you guys will join us. Remember, it is 9 p.m. 8 p.m. Excuse me, 8 p.m. on Thursday, April 4th. Sign up. We would love to have you. This is going to probably end up being, I think it's going to end up being pretty big. I'm confident. That
I hope so.
A lot of people are going to want to show up. I hope guys will
jump on and you'll be able to ask questions.
Yeah, she will.
You'll be able to ask questions.
Metal, Nina has the best line, which is, as a progressive, I didn't take a vow of poverty.
And by the way, I don't know where you're getting your numbers from, but that's absurd. I can tell you that's absurd. That kind of money. That's just not the case. So I don't know. Yeah. But that comes from maybe the same people that were saying how Bernie has 3 houses. Yeah, Bernie has 3 houses.
Well, I think Bernie has definitely done his share to try to push things in the right direction, despite what some people may think. Can't hate the guy. I'm appreciative that he woke me up as he woke up a lot of others. But as Bernie has often said, he lit the torch, but the rest of us have to carry it. It's not his job. He's in his 80s. There's other people that need to step up to the plate. Maybe Jen will be one of them. And I can assure you that despite what some people in the chat would have you believe, if Jen is able to get to Congress, it's not going to be like others. It could potentially be a one-term situation. And if that's the case, then, so be it. But it'll be a term unlike any other, and will be very effective. And that'll be that. So we hope you'll show up. Make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to click the bell. Because, a lot of times they don't want you to know that this show's even going on, which is unfortunate.
I'm not a bell clicker. I don't click.
You're
bells.
not a pill. You're not a pop-up.
I'm not a bell clicker.
Not a bell
I don't click bells for any of my things because I don't care to catch it necessarily
that's
live.
it.
I like to
Encourage
watch
people
when
not
I
to
like.
show up.
No, but our show was created as a long form podcast for people to be a resource, and it isn't necessarily. I mean, the live is fun, but it's the information and the content. And my point is, I like to watch things when I want to watch them. I'm not always just, So that's all I'm saying.
Well, I appreciate it, Brian. And Brian St. Pierre says he will come on Thursday. That's
Thank
great.
you, Metal. You don't think I'm a sellout? Oh my God, he loves me.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Red heifer.
Red heifer.
Red heifer prophecy.
Red heifer
Look it up.
prophecy.
Okay.
I'll look it up.
Henry Kajawa. He's a real ball bro. He's a ball buster. He definitely has.
I am not a bell ringer.
No, not a bell ring.
Well, I just, you know what? Because again, I'm on my own schedule, so
Chip
I know
did.
when I have.
Chip clicked it.
I know it. Thanks, Chip.
I got a fever.
Need more cowbell.
And the only prescription is more cowbell. Come on. No. I wish I could do walking. I wish I could do walking. I can't do it. I really wish I could do him.
Who does a good walk? I mean, I've seen.
Kevin Pollak.
Does the best. God. Yeah.
Kevin Pollak and Jay Moore. Kevin Pollak and Jay Moore do the best, as far as I've seen, the best walking impression. Walking. Come on. Make it happen.
Okay, so this is the red heifer.
Chris, I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to pull this up one more time. So make sure you click on this QR code, and now I'm going to pull this QR code away. So there you go.
Okay, so apparently, what is the meaning of the red heifer? Okay, so according to the Jewish tradition, a perfectly red heifer cow is required for purification before the third temple can be built.
Third temple, huh?
The temple's construction is, well, I mean, I'm assuming that's third temple, end of times. Oh, end time prophecy. Okay, so that's a messianic Bible thing. I'm not sure. Return of the Messiah must be purified with the ashes of a red heifer.
Then you're going to be erased, and it's going
I'm
to be
not
the end
sure
of
what. I mean, you want
days.
me to look that up, but I'm not sure what to do with it.
So make sure you click on that QR code. That QR code to join our fundraiser.
Join our fundraiser. Come
Please.
on. Have a chat with me and Nina.
All right. Chris Garrett's in. Fantastic.
Have a chat with me and Nina.
Yes. I think a lot of people are. Henry, you're also a fan of Jen and Nina, so I know you're going to be there on Thursday.
What does this have to do with Blue Oyster Cult?
I don't know. Don't fear the Reaper.
Don't fear the Reaper.
Those photos. Yeah. Nina is definitely somebody who will kick your ass. So show up.
Nina, no. Yeah.
Nina would throw down.
Yeah, Nina would throw down.
Nina would definitely throw down with Chantel if she could. I know.
I would sick Mo on her too.
Yeah. Oh, God. You should see the comments that some people have made towards Chantel. It's pretty bad.
I'm sure. Good.
Yeah.
As I've said, and I really believe this,
peace.
The people that are supposedly our people that are representing us but aren't should not get a moment of peace when they're in public. Not one. I think that if you are out in public and you are not properly doing your job and serving your constituents, that you deserve to hear that from them the entire time you're out in public.
Yeah.
And going and hiding in a bathroom, all of that stuff should not keep you safe. And I honestly would be climbing over a bathroom stall and looking down at someone if I felt the need to tell them what I thought, because these people work for us and they cannot avoid it forever. So
smash that like button, share, subscribe. Make sure you click on the QR code. Click that QR code to contribute to Jen's 2024 campaign.
The huge mosque with the gold. You mean the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque? Yeah, that's not in the way. That belongs there. It's there because it's there. Because that's where it goes.
Or one more time, you can go to gen2024.org.
I've been there. I've been to the Dome of the Rock.
Congratulations.
And it's beautiful. And it's sacred and it's beautiful. And it's the fact that they keep people from praying there and they kill them when they go, like all this ridiculous stuff in the name of their religion.
Oh, Jen, we got another one.
Chip, we're going to meet in person live.
So
I don't know. Fun. It'll be fun. Everyone can see me and my pen pal Chip meet live.
Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. Michael Cooper, Metalopoli, Travers, Brian St. Pierre, Chip, Brian again, Mario.
I can't believe you think you're going to be able to do this. Although the truth is most of them are on Twitter, right?
You don't like my music, Andrew. Henry Kajawa, Chris Garrett,
Oh, Travers, I would have known you were a bell ringer a mile away.
Andy Martin, Randall Giovanetti, Jimmy Zimzam.
I told you that Jimmy Zimzam is a patron now.
Ah, Jimmy Zimzam is even more awesome, not just because of his name.
What's in there?
Go figure. That was just.
Oh, okay.
What's in there? I don't know.
What's in there?
I think I said your name, Travers. Ray J.
You've said
lively
everybody.
chat tonight.
Teresa.
Yes.
Well, Teresa and Chris are great.
Always.
Like, I love that these people took pity on us and decided to be like our volunteer mods. It's so nice because we otherwise we were running amok.
Colanello, Double K, of course. DJ from the Center Podcast. I think we've gotten most of you guys. Kenman is skeptical.
Kenman's skeptical.
Skeptical.
He's skeptical.
He's skeptical.
He's skeptical. He was telling people to go watch the clip, the RBN clip with me, the video.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I don't know what they said. But, everything with those guys is based on this thing that happened, like, at this point, 2.5 years ago. And really what it came down to was they came on my podcast and were so nasty and rude. And so I evacuated them.
And part of that was because of Jen's support for Nina Turner.
Yeah. But that aside,
yes,
honestly, go back and watch that video because it's really interesting. People would like to think that I kicked them off my show because I disagreed with them, which is absolutely absurd. I have 3+ years of content with all sorts of people that I don't necessarily agree with. And that was the only time I ever exited someone from my show. And the reason that I exited them from my show was the tone and the disgusting nature in which they were speaking to me. And at one point, said guest went like this to me. And that was when I hit bye-bye.
Teddy Cool.
And that really is just it. I mean, there's no reason, again, for the same reason I don't like the way Debbie talks to people. I'm not going to be spoken to that way. It's unnecessary.
And by the way, Kenman, Jen has been interviewed. In fact, her launch interview was with Kim Iverson.
Mm-hmm.
You should go check that out.
Why? What was he saying? What was
that you were avoiding speaking to RBN, Jimmy Dore, and Kim Iverson.
Okay, let me explain something to you. Jimmy Dore.
Miss Chewy says.
And we've spoken about this many times. Jimmy Dore believed a person who ran for Congress before me, all this crap about me, and then decided to ghost me the first time I ran. And now he just doubles down on it out of whatever reason.
Josh the Junkie. By the way, speaking of which, and the self-care maven.
He just interrupted me, but I don't care. I'm going to keep talking. So Jimmy Dore ghosted us and didn't even cover us and couldn't care less to. And as far as why I wouldn't go on with the RBN guys, is because they're incredibly rude and disrespectful. And I don't feel the need to have that. We had them come on this show. They knew what we were going to be talking about, which was like labor movement stuff, which is something we cover. And they came on and continued to just be rude and nasty and just like for no reason.
This is the thing that a lot of people who don't live here don't seem to understand. The very Zionist portion of the district is no longer in it.
And the majority of Zionists that are in our district are Republicans.
GOP.
Now, this is a Democratic primary,
yes.
And our district is a +12 blue. So
it says it's +9, but if Debbie's winning by 10 points, 11 points, then you have an idea.
Right. But the point is that this is a very blue district.
It is.
But the majority of Zionist voters are Republican. So it's not really necessarily going to be pertinent to the primary more than anywhere else. But yes, we definitely have a Jewish Zionist population here. We have a Christian Zionist population here. We have all sorts of population here. And a lot of them won't vote for me because of this. That's fine. That's fine. We also have a very sizable Muslim population that I wasn't aware of here. And they definitely are people that will come out and vote in a primary now when they have a reason to. So it's going to be interesting to see. So yes, there are a lot of Zionists here. The most rabid part from our district was cut out in the redistricting in 22. So that won't be, yeah, but I appreciate that. And, oh, well, we're almost coming in now, but I'm being brought pizza. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It's not the good stuff.
It's not the good stuff? I don't know, but I've just been brought pizza.
I figured you guys might.
I am kind of hungry, but it's also cold.
Since when does that stop you?
It doesn't.
So with that said, again, if anybody has any suggestions for media@gen2024.org, interview suggestions.
I don't have a lot of enemies.
I don't think so.
I don't have any enemies. There's people that they don't like me, but they're not my enemy.
No. And there's
You got to
many reasons why
understand.
people don't like certain
I don't have any enemies. There are a couple people that are on my list. Couple of people that are on my list that will eventually come to that learning end of the don't fuck with me. And it won't be pleasant. That's true. But other than like, I mean, and it's like maybe two people, but like, I don't have enemies. I don't have anybody that I sit around and actively dislike, like personally. I just don't. Honestly, I don't have the mental space for it. I'll talk to anybody.
Again, guys,
who's not
interview
rude.
suggestions, media@gen2024.org. That goes for anybody. And the
Sabby Sabs is another one that blew me off and won't talk to me. They decided that they didn't like me and that was it, and they wrote me off.
There is no pineapple on this pizza.
Not even. I would not. Are you? No, it's just there is some. I don't even know what this is.
Yeah.
It was a frozen pizza that my husband made and threw in like the air fryer. I mean, I don't exactly, but there's no pineapple. No pineapple. I can see that it looks like it. Oh, no, it's not. It's just there is some cheddar cheese that is on there.
As I said, if you guys would really like Jen to go on certain places, you mean Olemi. And yes, she was very good on the Breakfast Club.
Love her. And you know what? Eric Adams, don't fuck with her.
Yeah, that was not a smart move on his
Don't
part.
fuck with her. And that is a prime example of somebody doing something that they ought not do.
Now, one of the things, and I will leave you with this thought, okay? Because like I said, we don't talk about RBN. We don't talk about anything that they do. It's their business. Just do what you're going to do, which is fine. But the one thing that they probably don't tell you prior to that interview that we had with them that went off the rails, we actually did have an interview with
one of them. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But the point is that we talked for like 2.5 hours. So it's not like we had some bad vibe with them again.
They were pissed. Here's the bottom line. They got pissed because I defended and stood up for Tim Black when he went after them or was slamming them. And they basically got their feathers in a bunch.
They told people that Nina Turner was wrong for not driving to Columbus,
right?
Ohio,
all this
to
stuff,
go to this Medicare,
all of it. And they just basically decided they didn't like me and they wanted to come on and mess with me and get me in a gotcha and all this stuff. And the thing is, I'm not playing in that sandbox. I'm just not playing in that sandbox.
We've got too many fish to fry, too many missions that have to be taken care of.
Yeah. And
you can't be worrying about stuff.
I
like
really
that.
can't. No, they're not enemies to me. I don't think about it one way or the other. Let me tell you something. They seem to have a huge problem with me based on something that happened 2.5 years ago. All right,
let's not get into it. It's
right when he's done talking about it. That's when we're done.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying.
You always do that, but that's okay. Continue.
I don't have. I wasn't. I was just trying to close the show.
Okay.
It's already after 11 o'clock.
Okay.
No, but you've you tell me all the time that you don't know when to stop. Sometimes you're an only child in a Taurus, right?
You think that I don't know when to stop talking sometimes. You don't know when to stop talking.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Okay. Well, anyway, hope you guys will tune in on Thursday. Thank you very much. And make sure to smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. I ran through all the names. I know that Jen's got a lot of interviews coming up a few of them coming up this week. So we will see.
I'm going to be on tomorrow I'm going on with Osiris.
Supposed to.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be on with Middle MAGA, and then I'm going on with Willie Bragg at 5. But I don't know. Does he do live? I don't think Willie does live.
Not sure.
I think it's recorded. Yeah. But I don't think it's live. But I'm going on. I'm talking. Willie Bragg is one of my favorite people.
Thank you all very, very much. Jen will be on with Jordan Sheraton on Status Quo on Thursday about 5 o'clock. And then we'll see you for the Nina Turner fundraiser at 8. And then we'll see you live at 9 on Thursday. Have a good night.